Hey everyone, welcome back to Homebrew 2. Today we're going to be making up another kit. This one comes from Brooklyn Brew Shop. It's a 1 gallon all grain kit, and today we're brewing Rum Barrel Porter. Let's see what's in the box. First, we have our bag of malt. Willamette hops, Columbus hops, oak chips, and yeast. A couple of other things to note about these Brooklyn Brew Shop all-grain kits. They have a lot of different varieties and a lot of different beers that you can brew, and some of them are really creative and way out of left field. So I do like them, but I wanted to point out that they do not provide any instructions with the kit. They also don't tell you what is in our grains here that we're going to eventually use as the mash that is going to be the foundation of our beer. They do tell us what the hops are. We have Columbus and Willamette. And these look like oak chips, which I'm going to assume we're going to soak these chips in our rum later in the process, and they don't tell us what the yeast is. I'm assuming once again that it is a standard ale yeast. The instructions can be found out online if you just go to their website, but they don't tell us much of what else is in the kit. So with that said, I'm sure we're going to have a lot of fun brewing this, so let's go ahead, head on over to the stove, and get making our Rum Barrel Porter. Begin by heating 2.5 quarts of water to 160 degrees Fahrenheit. Add all of the grain and mix gently until the mash has the consistency of oatmeal. The temperature will drop to roughly 150 degrees. Add more water if it is too hot or too dry. Cook for 60 minutes while maintaining a temperature between 144 and 152 degrees. Stir every 10 minutes and take temperature readings from multiple locations. You likely will not need to apply heat throughout the entire hour to maintain temperature. In another pot, heat 1 gallon of water to 170 degrees Fahrenheit. At the end of 60 minutes, heat the mash to 170 degrees while stirring constantly. Carefully pour the hot grain mash through a strainer into an empty pot. This liquid is now called wort. Slowly pour the gallon of heated water over the grain as well.
Then recirculate the wort through the grain. Bring the wort to a slow rolling boil. Once boiling, start the timer for 60 minutes and add half the packet of Columbus hops. At 30 minutes, add the remaining Columbus hops. With 10 minutes remaining, add half the Willamette hops. And add the remaining Willamette hops at flame out. Cover the pot and transfer to an ice bath in the sink to cool to 70 degrees Fahrenheit. Once cooled, use an auto siphon to transfer to a clean and sanitized carboy. Use a fine mesh filter and funnel to collect residue left behind from the grain and hops. Finally, pitch the yeast.
All right, now we have brewed a basic porter, but this is a rum barrel porter. So what are we going to do to make it that? Well, in the kit, they've given us some oak chips, and what we need to do with these is soak them in some dark rum. The instructions that they gave us online do say to do this before brew day, so overnight, and then put them in at flame out at the very end with that last addition of hops. But personally, when I do oak chips and any type of liqueur, I like doing it in secondary. I think it gives it a little bit of a stronger flavor, a better flavor. So I'm going to deviate just a little bit from the instructions, and that's what we're going to do. So be sure to stay tuned, because this will be coming up in about a week to 2 weeks. Speaking of a week to 2 weeks, we now have our carboy here, we have the yeast in there. We're just going to make a blow-off assembly running into a container of star sand, and let this ferment and do its magic in a cool, dark place for the next week to 2 weeks before we add our rum, making this the Rum Barrel Porter. Thank you for joining me here on Homebrew Tube, and be sure to stay tuned for more.